Good morning, world. Most people have the expectation that they're going to grow up, get married, have a family, raise the kids, let them go off to their own thing, and then you and your spouse are going to live happily ever after. But unfortunately, many relationships don't make it to that happily ever after stage. But if you have children, there is a relationship that you are going to have to maintain with your ex regardless of how you feel about them. And that is why today we're doing 5 tips to help co-parenting success. First is to set aside time with each child. Set aside a special little mother-daughter, father-son, that kind of time with each kid. Because when you are at home with the children and with your spouse, it's easier to have that father-son time while you guys are brushing your teeth. Maybe you have mother-daughter time while you guys are getting dressed. But when you're not both in the house all the time, sometimes it's easier for those little special moments to get missed. But you have to, if you make sure that you set aside a specific time, you set aside just that moment so that your child always knows that regardless of what happens with mommy, regardless of what happens with daddy, I am still very important to both of them. 2, don't involve your child or your children in your issues with your ex. This means that you can't use your child as a sounding board for venting, and the child is also not your messenger to get things across to your ex. Your child's time with you is supposed to be focused on you, and their child with your ex is supposed to be focused on that ex. So whatever your issue is with your ex, please make sure that you're addressing it directly with them. And that also means that when you have things to say, you can't just sit there and vent while your child is within earshot, because regardless of how you may feel about your ex, they are still that child's parent and that child still loves them. So when you sit there and you're saying in the background all sorts of negative things about someone they love, you are hurting them. So don't involve them. I'm not even going to say avoid, but just don't do it. Don't involve them in your issues. They're not your messengers, and they're not your sounding board for venting. And that also means that when your child is talking to your ex, this is not the time for you to be saying things in the background so that your ex can hear it. Place the needs of your child above your anger, which means sometimes allowing that child access to both parents. Because as I mentioned, they still love both of you just the same. So if you deprive your ex access to your child, you're also depriving your child access to their parent. Place the needs of your child above everything that you're feeling, above your anger, above the need to get back at them. This means that if your child is with you, they should be able to comfortably get access to their other parent. They should be able to comfortably call dad or call mom and not be worried that, if I call mom, dad starts yelling in the background, then there's a fight starts between them. So I better not call my mom when I'm with dad, or I better not call dad when I'm with mom because a fight is going to happen. Because regardless of what your ex may have done, when you use your child's time with them to convey your message, then it becomes your child's fault. It doesn't matter what you guys had going on, because if I didn't call mom, dad would not be yelling and they would not be fighting. So just keep that in mind. Your child is feeling that it's their fault when it's actually, the parents that needed to be more thoughtful about how they express themselves. Bringing me to the next step, which is create a communication system with rules. Because when a couple breaks up, when you guys are not together, sometimes it's hard to even accept that this person is breathing oxygen on the same earth that you live in, right? Even though you don't want to share an earth with them, your child wants them around, and you have to deal with them for the sake of your child. So create a communication system. It could be that you guys are going to use email because you cannot stand the thought of talking to this person. Maybe you're going to use text because it's easier for you to just say what you need and not get into a back and forth. One of the reasons I like written communication is because it forces people to think about what they're saying, because When you're talking, it's easier to just keep it going and just say words and just keep at it. But when you're typing it, you actually think more about the words that you commit to paper. So it may be easier to do email, maybe you'll do text, but set a communication system and set the rules for the communication system so that you guys are able to make decisions about your children or for your children, and of course convey decisions that you have made so that you can both support each other's decisions. Because if your children know that you don't communicate, they will. And the kids are very good at manipulating both of you to get their way and avoid certain consequences and avoid anything that they don't want. So even if you don't want to talk to each other, find a way that you're at least able to communicate for and about the children, whichever way you want to do it. And of course, be supportive of each other's decisions. And finally, remember that whatever you do to your ex, you are also doing to your child. Children feel what their parents feel. Children hurt when their parents hurt. If you feel that you want to get back at your ex, you want to do something to them, you want to make them feel a certain way, you want to zing them, think twice before you do it. Because whatever pain you place on that child's mother, whatever pain you inflict on that child's father, that child in some way is going to feel it. If you would decide that, okay, well, I'm mad at my ex, so I'm not going to pay child support. Well, your child is the one being deprived of whatever money that was supposed to come into the household to help care for them. If you decide, I'm not going to bring my child to my ex's birthday party, your child is the one who's going to miss daddy or mommy's birthday party because, you wanted to hurt your ex. So be very careful with hurting each other, because hurting each other often means hurting the precious little baby that you love. So quick recap. Set aside time for each child because they each need to know that they are important. And time with all the kids mean that each one of them has to be vying for your attention. So make sure they each have their own little special time. Don't involve your children in your issues with your ex, because your issues with your ex are between you and your ex. And you don't want the kid to feel that they cannot have access to both. Place the needs of your child above your anger or whatever other negative emotions that you have. Make sure that your kid can always access both parents regardless of how you may feel about that other parent. Create a communication system with rules so that you guys can continue to be parents, both of you, to your children, because regardless of how you feel about each other, your children are still there and still need both of you to take care of them. And finally, remember that whatever you do to your ex, you are also doing to your child, because however mommy or daddy is feeling, somehow, some way, that feeling is going to end up impacting that baby that you love. So just keep that in mind. That is all we have for today. I know that was super long. So good morning, world. Have a great day.